What's up, guys? I just got this new mic, and also got these other new additions, as if I needed another reason to remind myself more of Pruane. Now, for those of you that may be a little out of the loop, America is going through a bit of a rough patch at the moment. We've got tons of protests, a global pandemic, an impending election, just lots of division right now. But don't you worry, because in this video, I'm going to divide us more. America. One big, dysfunctional family. Yeah, this is the best map I could find. As Americans, it seems like our favorite thing to do is compare ourselves to other Americans. Usually over things like political alignment, wealth, climate, whether or not they call it a bubbler or a water fountain. But it got me thinking, why must we limit ourselves in this way? Let's compare and contrast one another in the most absolute way possible. With science! Now, a question as broad as this one is obviously going to come with a lot of biases, and as a result, you're probably never going to get the same answer twice, depending on who you ask. As a result, I've tried to keep the results of this process as objective as possible, keeping my opinions and the opinions of others far away. With that in mind, let me give you a quick run-through of the process. To keep everything purely quantifiable, I devised a list of 8 different criteria with which to make my comparisons, taking the national rank of all 50 states in each respective category, then averaging them out and giving them all a final score. The categories I ended up using were gross domestic product, affordability, crime rate, education, employment rate, number of attractions, infrastructure, and population density. Now, I'm not going to pretend that this is a perfect way to judge every single state, because I know that there are a bunch of other factors that could be taken into consideration. But on the other hand, I do feel that these categories provide the most accurate representation of what a state's living conditions are like, while remaining unbiased. So let's get into it. The biggest takeaway I had from completing this model is that it was really hard. It's difficult to attribute a single number to each state just because of how much their scores fluctuate from category to category. More often than not, when you find that a state is exceptionally good in one category, you'll find that they are exceptionally bad in another. Take California, for example, which managed to finish number 1 in GDP and number of attractions, but ended up with a final ranking of 31st out of 50, due in large part to their outrageous cost of living. The same can be said for Oregon, which has the nation's highest rated infrastructure, but is also freakishly expensive to live in. New Jersey, the second most educated state, also the worst in terms of overcrowding. Oh, Hawaii's so beautiful, it's a paradise, let's move to Hawaii. Better start saving up. The point I'm trying to make is that none of the states are perfect, and no two states are alike. But with the help of mathematics, I'm pretty sure I can still give out my awards. Our third place finisher is a state that I feel kind of flies under the radar at times, despite having a lot of positive attributes. This state finished 4th in education, attractions, and population density, and reached its peak in infrastructure, where it finished 2nd. And I know this state is currently experiencing its fair share of civil unrest. Nevertheless, taking home the bronze medal with an average score of 16.3 out of 50 is Washington. There's a certain unique allure to the Pacific Northwest, and I think Washington is one of the best examples of this. There's tons of cool places and things to see, from the Olympic National Forest to Mount Rainier to the Space Needle, as well as the most awesome mascot in pro football. And as if that wasn't enough, it also provided the setting to Frasier. So really, what more could you ask for? Second place was a bit surprising, since the majority of this state's scores resided on the upper mediocre level. But what really helped this state out was its first place ranking in population density. To clarify, population density was probably the most complicated statistic that I had to uncover, because I didn't solely go from top to bottom or bottom to top, but rather I chose to rank states based on how evenly distributed their populations are. That means that this is the best state to live comfortably around your neighbors and enjoy a nice cheese sandwich. Emphasis on the cheese, because the silver medal is heading straight to cheese country, Wisconsin. It's the dairy capital of the world, and the birthplace of the Super Bowl, and the people there are just so delightful. Wisconsin's about as safe a bet as you can have if you're trying to look for a new place to live.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough.
This is it, the one you've all been waiting for. Our number one pick comes about as close as possible to checking off every single box, finishing in the top 20 in 7 out of the 8 different categories, including 4 top 10 finishes. If you're looking for a state with decent affordability, tons of attractions, great infrastructure, and the number 1 employment rate in the whole country, then this is the place for you. Finishing with an insane score of 11.8 out of 50, the gold medal goes to none other than the land of 10,000 lakes, Minnesota. Mathematically speaking, the best state to live in the USA. They have a mall with an amusement park inside it. It's a no-brainer. So that's it, right? We've successfully determined the ultimate place to be in the United States using a 100% foolproof mathematical process. So this is where we end, right? Not exactly. As Newton states in his third law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The yin and the yang, there can be no light without darkness. It wouldn't make much sense to inform you of the top 3 states, while also not informing you on the bottom 3 states. So, I'm going to quickly go through that. The third worst, Arkansas. This one seemed a little unfair, considering it's the state that I live in, and from my experience I can tell you that it's not that bad. I mean, we got free diamonds and stuff. We're also home to the KKK headquarters, so there's that. The second worst, Rhode Island. It's small, it's crowded, the infrastructure's whack, the education's whack, there's not really that much to do, and it's not even a real island. Must I say more? And the worst, Alaska. I'll give credit where credit is due. Alaska does have some pretty nice scenery. But unless you're looking for mountains or polar bears or Sarah Palin, there's not really much upside in Alaska. It ended up in the bottom echelon of pretty much every single category, with its highest score being in employment rate, where it finished, right smack dab in the middle. No wonder they have to pay people to live here. I do apologize if your state wasn't included or was cast in a negative light. But you have to realize that no amount of research or number crunching can ever truly capture the essence and uniqueness of all 50 states. Because at the end of the day, it's not the number of tourist attractions or the GDP or the education that makes a state special. It's the people. That's what makes America, America, right? A conglomeration of 330 million clashing personalities all bunched up in 50 different little neighborhoods. Just trying to get by in life. So different, yet alike in so many ways. If you want to check out the spreadsheet I used to figure all this crap out, I've included a link to it in the description. If you like this video, I implore you to smash that subscribe button. And as always, thanks for stopping by.